we already know now. But just to remind my friends and loved ones. Number one, feel the pain. Those tears we shed and those little children crying and getting mocked by the ICE guards, feel that pain. Don't get compassion fatigue, because Trump is counting on you numbing yourself to pain, if only for your own self-care. They are counting on us giving up and saying, well, if only he does the least bad next thing, then I guess it's progress. No, it's not progress. So, feel that pain all the way through. Don't give up. Stay mad, stay angry, stay anguished, because for every loving moment that you have with your child, your loved one, that is a reminder of the loving moments that those families do not have. Second, heal the families. As David Jewish just mentioned and others have told you, we know the psychological pain of ripping parents and children apart. We also know the pain of putting families together in detention, and we're not for that either. So when we say keep families together, we mean in the community, not in a detention center. California, or anywhere in our state or our country. So let's be clear about that. We need to heal the families. And the third thing we need to do, especially with this administration, is to follow the money. Follow the money. And private prisons. And I want to tell you two pieces of information to take back to your friends and to back to your organizing. First, August 2016, the very day after Sally Yates, remember Patriot Sally Yates, announced that President Obama was going to be phasing out the use of private prisons, thanks to the hard work of some of the people here and a lot of people in the Black Lives Matter movement who've been pushing for that. The very day after Sally Yates announced that the Obama administration was phasing out use of private prisons, a company named GEO, G-E-O, gave $100,000 to a pro-Donald Trump super PAC. A few weeks later, they gave another $150,000. Just last week, we learned that they are cashing in by the millions of dollars because they're running these private detention centers for public profit. So we need to follow the money. The second thing I began, and I'll end where I began, as a proud public school mom. We know. Let's hear it for the public school mom. As I often say, the least qualified, but sadly the most effective and destructive member of the Trump cabinet is Betsy DeVos. She's been trying to take the public out of public schools for a very long time. She has been trying to demean our public school teachers. She is trying to roll back Title IX protections for students who are victims. She's attacking our immigrant students, our transgender students. Just this week, they rolled back 19 different protections for students with disabilities. And I'll tell you something else about Betsy DeVos. Up until she joined the cabinet, she was on the board of that Bethany Charities, a private prison taking in these young children stripped from their families. So follow the money, fight the power, and together we'll win.
Thank you so much. Now with the large Latino community being affected. Thank you. Hey, everybody! Where are all my justice warriors? Where are all the peaceful people? Are there any families over here? You guys got to get fired up. We got a lot of work to do. We are under attack, and we've been under attack for a couple of years, but you know what I see? Us rising up. One day, one event, one motion, one movement. Every day. Give yourselves an applause. We are doing this. Now I gotta tell you, I don't know if you know the background of this, how this event came together, but it started with a group of thoughtful women in a coffee shop last Thursday. And here we are, thousands of us gathered on Saturday. That's what I'm talking about. That strength and can't be here today. Those people that lost their lives, that gave their lives, and frankly, sometimes some people took their lives. Last Saturday was a big Saturday. You guys familiar with the term Juneteenth?
Yes.
Last Saturday, was Juneteenth celebration and weekend. And there is a serious correlation in this country about ripping children from families. There is a strong correlation between tearing people up, all in the name of America and for the dollar. But you know what we're going to do today? We're standing up together and we're learning from the transgressions of the past. We will not forget. We cannot forget. And you know what? We have a collective responsibility for every child in this vicinity and every child in this country to stand up and fight for his and her future. I want to recognize and uplift all the mothers, all the fathers, all the aunts and uncles and godparents who are bringing their children and who are speaking to their children, bringing life and speaking life into them so that they will rise and grow and be strong, because this is going to continue. We're not going to rest. We're not going to rest. Our work is cut out for us, and we're going to continue to rise up. And I want to just give you a shout out and say I love you. This weekend is about love. There are going to be a great number of events happening. Next Tuesday in Richmond, California, organizers are organizing an event at an ICE detention center. I want to see each and every one of you there. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care if you don't have child care. You bring your child and you bring your tired self and you stand there with me 6 o'clock, because we need to make a stand. I'm tired of this racism. I'm tired of this sexism. I'm tired of this patriarchal society. We're not going to stand for it anymore. Thank you very much. My name is Malia Cohen and I love you.
All right, we're going to welcome up right now Supervisor Norman Yeam and City Assessor Carmen Chu.
Sorry, I'm a guy, you know. It doesn't take a father or a grandfather to understand what's happening in this nation with this with this Trump guy doing child abuse. It really doesn't. It only takes decent people like you all and people that are speaking to say no more, asshole. I'm sick of him. I want to invite him to San Francisco. I want to invite him to San Francisco because there's a cage right there for him. I'm wearing a warrior shirt because I'm proud of them, not only because they are a champion. Twice they said to Trump, "Fuck you, fuck you." It's about being decent. Trump is not decent. It's about being nice. He's cruel. We need to keep on sending him a message. We need to say, you do something stupid again, we'll keep on pushing you. We need to keep it up, and it's up to all of you to do that. Thank you very much.
Let's give a big round of applause for Norman Yee.
Norman Yee.
Supervisor. Hello everybody, my name is Carmen Chu and I've come here today because I want to say that I am sick and tired of other people scapegoating our communities. I'm a proud daughter of immigrants. My parents, they came to the United States 40 years ago, and I think we all know the truth. We know that it's not ever easy to leave the place where your family is from, to leave the place where you work, where your friends are, in order to go to some place you don't know, a language you don't speak, without any money, without friends, a network. And why do people do this? Why do people take their families? Why do they leave that in order to come here? They come here because they believe. They believe in the hope of what this country brings. The hope that they can have a safe place to raise their kids, a place where they can have a job, where they can actually raise a family. So how is it ever okay? How is it ever okay to rip families apart, children apart from their parents? I can never see that ever being okay. today, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for coming out, for standing up, for standing with our families to make sure that Trump knows, the Republicans know, that this is our America. Our America. And let's make sure they know that we want our America to stand up for our values. Thank you.
All right, we want to welcome up right now David Campos. He's the chair of the San Francisco Democratic Party, and he's going to share what San Francisco is doing locally to fight these Trump policies. So let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you to the amazing women of San Francisco for being out here. Thank you for supporting these families. You know, this is a very personal story for me. Many people know that I came here as an undocumented kid. I was 14. But before I came here, we actually were detained at the border when I was 11. It was my parents, myself, like I said, I was 11, and my two little sisters who were 5 and 2. And as much as people talk about detention centers and trying to make it look, you know, as nice as possible in the description, the fact is, these are jails, these are prisons. And I can tell you that as an 11-year-old, the experience of being in a jail is something that stays with you the rest of your life. And as traumatic as it was for me, at least I had my dad in that cell. My little sisters were with my mom. And so I cannot imagine what it's like for a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, going through that experience without a parent. I mean, it is, someone said it's child cruelty, it's all of that, but so much more. And I'm very proud of San Francisco for being here today, because I'll be honest, San Francisco is not completely innocent when it comes to the treatment of immigrant families. We have never put kids in cages, but in 2008, 2009, when Gavin Newsom was mayor, we separated immigrant families in San Francisco. And I'm glad that in 2018, we as a city are righting that wrong by speaking out against the evil that is happening. And what I want to say about evil is that the worst thing that we can do against evil is to be silent. Our silence makes us complicit in that evil. And let's be honest, there's 35% of this country that will always be with Donald Trump. As he said, you know, he can shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and they're always going to support him. And one of the most difficult things for me is watching the reports of Trump supporters saying, stop making me feel guilty about these kids. So I have no interest in having a conversation with those folks because they're not going to change. But to the 65% of the country that understands that when a country puts a child in a cage, that country is making a statement about what country it is, I want them to say, speak out. Don't be silent. And you know what, San Francisco, I'm glad that we're here, but we have to do more than being here today. What is this city doing to actually stop our federal government? Are we going to sue our federal government? We should. And are we prepared to go to the border, to stand with those families and say, your struggle is my struggle? And I will leave you with this. There will be a time when the history of this time will be written. In 10, 20, 30 years. And I want that history to say that when that happened, the city and county of San Francisco was at the forefront of saying, this is not who we are, not in my name. We are taking our country back. Thank you very much.
know the Trump administration has been using the Bible and other sacred texts to justify his policies. So we've invited a few faith leaders here to set the record straight, to talk about morality, to talk about humanity, and what we're called to do. So right now, I'm going to welcome up Father Richard Smith. He's from Faith in Action, and he's been working on the ground with the community for a long time. Let's give a round of applause.
Wow, you look so beautiful. We got the best looking people in town here today. Nice going. So I've been a priest in the mission for many years now. I'm also a gay man, a husband, a father of a beautiful Latino who's also a very proud student, by the way, at June Jordan. All right. And so over the years, you know, I can't help but be so outraged as a person of faith, because Jeff Sessions is misusing our sacred texts for hateful purposes, taking babies from their mother's arms. This is nothing new. We've seen this, as others have said, among African American families, how they've used it. How they've used it against Native American families, Chinese families on Angel Island. As a gay man, I felt the lash of this misuse of scripture many times, so has my husband and our family. But let me say this, I'll be damned if they're going to do it again. We got to take this book back. So here we are. This book is the one who tells us about Moses, who led a broken, enslaved people from slavery into freedom. This book tells us about Jesus, who threw in his lot with the people that nobody else cared about. And he said, whatever you do to these, the least of my sisters and brothers, you do to me. If you read this book and you walk away and your heart is not more full of love, more compassion, more justice, you miss the whole point. You miss the whole point. Because it's about love, and it's on love, as Jesus said, that all the law and the prophets rest. So here we are. Got to take back this book from the hijackers. As people of faith and faith in action, we, 100 congregations here in the city and on the peninsula, we try to live out this message of this book and of our many other sacred texts as well. Let me say a word about a young woman we've come to know and love. Her name is Floricel. She's the mother of 3 children, an immigrant, undocumented immigrant. Single mother. She was working like 17-hour days just to put food on the table for her family. And one Sunday morning they were going to church, and she decided to treat her 3 kids to breakfast at the local IHOP. And when they were coming out in the parking lot, ICE surrounded them, took Floricel from her kids, leaving the kids in tears, stranded to fend for themselves. Well, as soon as we found out about this, she, by the way, was in detention, separated from her kids for a year. A year. Parents, think of this. A year from your kids. So as soon as we found out about this, we managed to pack the courtrooms whenever she went to trial before a judge. We managed to raise enough money to get her out of the detention center. She's now back home with her kids, and her asylum case is going forward. And I'm happy to say, it's awesome, thank you. And I'm happy to say that just yesterday morning, I had the privilege of blessing a busload of people from San Francisco headed to the San Diego border. They are there now with 1,000 people from around the state of California. There will be many clergy there today who will be risking arrest. We got to do this. So I invite you, if you happen to be a member of a congregation in San Francisco, please consider joining us in Faith in Action. And if you got a few little change to spare, consider donating what you can to organizations like Carecen, the Central American Resource Center. So many of our nonprofits these days in San Francisco are strained to the max, trying to respond to the needs of desperate families, increasingly desperate families. So here we are, honored to be with you. At the end of life, we will all be examined in love. We'll all be examined in love. How much did you love? That's the only question. And so we got to do everything we can to stop this cruelty. I want at this time, I've been asked and I'm honored to do so, to say a prayer of blessing, and I'd like you to help me with this. If you would simply reach out and take the hand of someone next to you, joining not only our hands, but our hearts and spirits as well. And so with our hands and our hearts, our spirits as one, we pray. May God bless you with a restless discomfort about easy answers, lies, and superficial relationships, so that you may seek truth boldly and love deeply within your heart. May God bless you with a holy anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people, so that you may tirelessly work for justice, freedom, and peace among all people. May God bless you with the gift of tears to shed with those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, or the loss of all they cherish, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and transform their pain into joy. May God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you really can make a difference in this world, so that you are able, with God's grace, to do what others claim cannot be done. May the blessing of the Holy One, who has many names, be with us all in this critical struggle, and remain with us today and every day forward. You're beautiful. God bless you all.
Right now we're going to welcome up Carmen, who's going to share her story. Her story is so like so many other stories of our families that are crossing the border. So I want you to give your ears and your hearts to listen.
Buenos días a todos. Gracias por estar aquí, por apoyar a las familias que de una manera u otra las han separado, pero que confío primeramente en Dios y luego en las leyes de este país, que es el principio de lo que ha pasado, y esto tiene que parar. No más separaciones a la familia.
I just want to say thank you for being here today. Thank you for standing with her and her family. She first trusted God, and then she trusted the laws of this country that have brought us to this day. The separation of families and children needs to end now.
Estoy aquí presente no solo por lo que a mí me duele, lo que está pasando con la familia, y soy testiga de mucha familia, y esto no es de ahorita, eso tiene años de años que han separado a las familias, pero ahora, gracias, pero ahora creo y confío, como digo, esto va a parar. Y hablo por las familias que no pueden hablar, no porque no puedan mover su boca, no, es porque por alguna manera tienen temor de hablar. Así que yo estoy por esas personas que sufren, que no pueden hablar por muchas circunstancias.
I stand here today because I'm testifying for what's happening in this country. To summarize what she's saying, she's standing here today for those mothers and fathers who cannot speak for themselves, not because they can't move their mouth, but because they are in fear of speaking out. She is here to stand and speak on their behalf.
Gracias, gracias, gracias. Confiemos mucho que este país tiene que un día tener paz, y paz para el mundo entero, porque este país es un país de bendición, yo lo creo. Gracias.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. She trusts that this country, and I'm paraphrasing for her, trusts that this country will stand up for the values in which it was founded for. This country is a country of blessings, and she has hope that things will change. So please continue to stand with her today.
Thank you so much. So up next we have a wonderful speaker, Dr. Herman Plaza, who's from the San Francisco Marin Medical Society and also a child psychologist.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. As she said, I'm so honored by Monica and the organizers to be able to speak on behalf of children and children's health. My name is Dr. Herman Plaza, and I'm actually a pediatrician, but I work very closely with child psychologists, and I love them. I stand here today as a board member of the San Francisco Marin Medical Society, an organization that represents over 2,000 Bay Area doctors, and as a member of the California Medical Association, an organization that represents over 43,000 doctors throughout California. I also stand with you all here today as a community member who is horrified and outraged at the atrocities that are occurring on our southern border. This administration has implemented a policy to separate children from their families to deter them from coming to seek asylum. In practice, this policy terrorizes and traumatizes children unnecessarily and holds them hostage. The American Medical Association sent a letter last week to the White House stating that, and I quote, "Families seeking refuge in the U.S. already endure emotional and physical stress, which is only exacerbated when they are separated from one another. It is well known that childhood trauma and adverse childhood experiences created by inhumane treatment often create negative health impacts that can last an individual's lifespan. In other words, trauma bathes the body in stress hormones and affects our brains, and the young, developing brains of children are the most vulnerable. After traumatic events, children can lose the ability to communicate, can lose the ability to control their emotions, and can lose the ability to form healthy social relationships, all fundamental aspects of being a normal, healthy child. Perhaps even more alarming is that these traumatic insults can lead to long-lasting serious problems in mental and physical health. Research shows that people who have experienced trauma and toxic stress have a higher risk of developing diabetes, strokes, heart disease, and cancer as adults. Beyond the research and the science, as a pediatrician, it is perhaps the personal stories of my patients, of which sadly there are many, that I find most tragic. I cared for a little girl, about 8 years old, previously happy and healthy. She, like many other children, experienced a brief but traumatic separation from her mother during their immigration journey. The experience haunted her months after being reunited with her mother and being out of the detention center. One typical morning, when leaving the house for school, she was overcome with fear that she would not see her mother again, that she threatened to kill herself. As a pediatrician, as a human being, it broke my heart to see this quiet, withdrawn child in front of me in the clinic after a suicide attempt, and to think about the happy, laughing, carefree child she should have been and could have been. And it breaks my heart now to think of the many thousands of children that are being held by our government apart from their families. What will their lives look like after this? What harm have we done to their long-term health? This week, an executive order was signed to halt this cruel policy of separating families, but this administration's solution is to try and hold children in detention with their parents. Trading one traumatic event for another is not a solution. the American Academy of Pediatrics has repeatedly spoken out against the detention of children in DHS and ICE facilities. The Academy argues that these prison-like facilities, inconsistent access to quality medical, dental, and mental health care, lack of appropriate developmental and educational opportunities makes these facilities simply inappropriate for children. In other words, children don't belong in jail. One of the reasons I became a doctor for children is so that I can be inspired on a daily basis by parents who will do everything and move mountains to protect their children. I regularly speak with parents who have fled Central America, and not surprisingly, they are like all other parents. They are concerned about what their children are eating, they are concerned about this or that rash, but sometimes they tell me about their stories too. About the arduous and perilous journey that they took to come here to seek asylum. The choice that they made to protect the health and well-being of their children. This choice is not made lightly, and it is an incredible sacrifice that these parents are making because they see no other way to protect their children. Like these parents, it is my job as a pediatrician to ensure that children are safe. It is my job to keep them healthy, mentally, socially, and physically, and it is my job to advocate on their behalf. As such, I'm inspired to be here today, and I'm inspired by my colleagues at the California Medical Association, the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Psychiatric Association. I'm inspired by all of you here today. I'm inspired by all the Americans across this country who know that it is all of our jobs to speak up and to speak out when there are abuses being committed against children and families. Thank you.
Right now, I want to introduce a tremendous woman. She has been working with the families on the ground for years, leading the fight for the immigrant community here in San Francisco. So let's give it up for Larissa Cuadra Dugan from Carecen.
Buenos días! Okay, so we're going to do a little housekeeping. First of all, I'm Larissa Dugan Cuadra. I'm the Executive Director of Carecen San Francisco, Central American Resource Center of Northern California. We were founded in 1986 by Salvadoreño refugees. The story is the story of our people in this country. And I bring a message from the Central American community, but before we do that, I want to do a little housekeeping like I said. So, raise your hand if you're an immigrant! I see some people not raising their hands. Let's try this again. Raise your hand if you're an immigrant! Okay, we're still not getting it. Let's push this. Native American brothers and sisters, raise your hands! We are all immigrants. All of us are immigrants. In history, if you don't get that right, you got it twisted. So here we go. I'm very nervous, so I'm actually going to read this, and this is a statement from the Central American community. The damage is done, and the only acceptable action to mitigate the torture and suffering of more than 2,300 children and families separated at the U.S.-Mexico border by the Trump administration is for them to immediately be released, immediately reunited, and immediately granted permanent legal residency. Immediately permanent legal residency. That is the only solution that will mitigate the suffering of these families. We are not going to put them through immigration court. We're not going to make them wear ankle monitors. We're going to release them, and we're going to take care of them so these children can heal. As Central Americans with a long history in this nation, as taxpayers and active contributors to the social, economic and cultural fabric of this nation, we are outraged and we are deeply pained. Yet not surprised that this government would do this to our people. After all, U.S. foreign and domestic policies have, for more than 4 decades, and even during the William Walker days in Nicaragua in the 1800s, these policies for more than 4 decades have yielded nothing but suffering, family separation, forced migration, and documented human rights violations. That is a fact. Migration is a right, and our people are being forced to migrate. This is a result of millions of dollars in investments in Central America, even today, in the Northern Triangle, that are not yielding safety, that are not yielding dignified jobs, that are not yielding democracy, and that are not yielding human rights for our people. So we are all responsible because that is our tax dollar money at use. So, here's where I flip the script, and my colleagues didn't expect this. I see some immigration attorneys in the house. Come on up. Come on up. Meet your immigration attorneys. This policy of separating families. Come on, you guys. Come on. The Obama administration deported more than 2 million people, separating U.S. born children from their parents. I am a mixed status child. My mother's an immigrant. My father's an Irish American. We are mixed families. We are the fabric of this country. Do not get it twisted. Now, we commend the ACLU and Raíces and all these amazing organizations fighting the fight with us. But I want to urge you all to act locally. In San Francisco Immigration Court alone, there are more than 3,000 children and families without legal representation. And our colleagues here, we represent 3 collaboratives, the San Francisco Immigrant Legal Defense Collaborative, which is 15 organizations representing currently more than 700 families and children in SF Immigration Court. We represent the San Francisco Immigrant Legal Education Network, that is doing Know Your Rights education in our community so our rights are not violated. And we represent the San Francisco Rapid Response Network, which responds to ICE sweeping policies and raids that cause human suffering for our children and our families. So, here are the people and the public defender, yes? We call it our circle of fire, our circle of love. So, I'm gonna pass the mic on to the people doing the work every day. Again, I'm Marisa with the Central American Resource Center. We do encourage you guys to support our organizations. We're providing social work, support, system navigation. And before I pass the mic on, I just want to say, a week ago I met a mother. And she was released from detention with her children a month ago. They wanted to take her child away from her. And she was telling me that she told them to hold on to her and to not let go. And because they locked each other's bodies, ICE desisted and did not separate this family. However, that woman is wearing an ankle monitor. And that woman is seeking legal representation. It took her 2 weeks to get to Carecen because she did not know how to navigate the city. And she was so happy when she arrived at our door and she said, I heard about you guys at the border and I was looking for you for 2 weeks and I just don't know how to get around. And that's the kind of support that we provide our families, not just the legal defense, but the system navigation, helping children enroll in public schools, and all these other mental health services, and even helping pay for bus tokens. Because our families are coming, they're taking their papers at the border, they're taking their belongings, and they're arriving in our city with nothing but hope, dreams, and the goal of having their children survive. So I want to ask our partners here to introduce your names. Again, these are the warriors every day fighting the fight in our city. And please list your organization.
I'm Victor Conde from Central California. I'm an immigration lawyer and an international human rights lawyer. And I want to tell you, Article 26 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights says, the family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society as entitled to protection by the state. That is a human rights norm. And we're failing that.
Hello, my name is Millie Atkinson. I'm with the Immigration Center for Women and Children in San Francisco. Not only do we provide direct representation for these children once they are let out of immigration custody, we also run an orientation program for them to help them understand and navigate their life here after reunification with family members, how to enroll in school, how to have access to social services, and how to navigate the very complicated immigration court system, and also help them find attorneys.
Good morning, my name is Jessica Yamane. I work at La Raza Community Resource Center on 16th and Valencia. And we have drop-ins every Tuesday from 9 to 4 for the array of immigration issues that your families and loved ones might be confronted with, so we welcome you to our offices.
Hi everyone, my name is Ana Moraga and I work for Kind Kids in Need of Defense. We represent unaccompanied minors in court.
Hello, my name is Antoinette Gonzalez. I'm with the Justice and Diversity Center, and it's really wonderful to see you all out here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Benita Jan with the Immigrant Defense Project and the Immigrant Family Defense Fund. I'll be talking to you all a little bit later.
I'm Francisco Ugarte with the San Francisco Public Defender's Office. And on Monday of this week, we hired 4 new attorneys to handle detained removal defense cases in the detained courts in San Francisco. That makes us a team of 8 lawyers, which started since Trump got elected. Thanks to you, thanks to our movement, we are not going to let this happen. We're going to push back and we're going to win. Thank you.
My name is Avantika Shastri. I'm with the Justice and Diversity Center at the Bar Association of San Francisco. We run a Volunteer Attorney of the Day program to make sure, as best we can, that no immigrant has to face removal proceedings without an attorney by their side. And we also are a proud partner of the San Francisco Immigrant Legal Defense Collaborative and working with all of our proud partners here to provide direct services. And we're so proud to work in San Francisco, where we know the community supports immigrants.
So remember, let's think globally and nationally and act locally. And let's give a big hand to our immigration attorneys. And I'm just going to throw this out. Anybody who wants to donate a fun day for these attorneys so that they can get some R&R and recharge their hearts and spirits, welcome. Reach us at caresnsf.org. And once again, no solution is acceptable other than granting these families permanent legal residency. That is the only acceptable resolution for this situation. Thank you. Gracias. Que viva la raza! Come on, let's give them a big round of applause. These are our warriors acting every day for our community.
For now, we want to welcome up District 9 Supervisor Hillary Ronan. Thank you so much, Monica, for organizing and bringing us together here today. I know, like all of you, you have been, hi, I love you, Mujeres Unidas y Activas, en la colectiva de mujeres. I've been holding my daughter extra tight, and I know that you have all been doing the same. And I just want to thank you and to recognize you for coming out, because those of us that are not currently detained and those of us who have the privilege that should not even be a question but is in the United States of America, those of us that have the privilege to be with our children, we have got to fight every single day of our lives to make sure that we are all together with our families. It is an outrage that that is not a fact in the United States of America in 2018. I am Jewish, and I grew up listening to stories of the camps and Nazi Germany. My great aunt and uncle were in France during World War II, and my aunt and my cousin hid in the countryside in the home of a French family during the entire war, while my uncle fought in the underground resistance, was captured and sent to Auschwitz. And I grew up listening to stories of families being separated after getting off the train at the camps. And never, ever, ever in my lifetime did I think something even nearing that atrocity would be happening on my watch in my country. And so what I am here to say is no more. We are not going to let this happen. We are going to stand up. We are going to stand tall. We are going to stand strong. And we are going to resist. And you know what? It's happening. It is happening. And it is happening in beautiful ways. From the restaurant last night in D.C. that refused to serve Sarah Sanders because she too is complicit. To the priest of the Methodist Church that for the first time enacted a policy to excommunicate Jeff Sessions. To the airlines that say we refuse to transfer immigrants on our airplanes. To me and you who are here today saying no more. We will resist, we will stop this, and we will make sure that all families who belong together will be together. We are in this, we will win. Right now we want to welcome up Ana Moraga from Kind.
Hi everyone. I am an immigrant and I'm an attorney for immigrants. So I wrote a poem for you all explaining my experience in my work. I come from El Maíz. My ancestors believed that all humans are birthed from corn. The seeds that we were birthed from have been here long before border walls. My ancestors traded in these lands, and I know these because Guatemalan Mayan artifacts have been found in Georgia dating back to 670 AD. We came from the south and we crossed these lands, but then we were pushed out. As the imaginary border crossed us, we became the targets of hate, and so we were lynched. The last recorded lynching of Latinos at the border was in the 1920s. And it's been over a century of U.S. military and neoliberal policies in Latin America. To this day, the lynchings still exist, and there are strategies to break our spirit. These have not stopped. When fathers are separated from their children and they commit suicide in detention centers, is that not a lynching? When children are separated from their parents at the border, wasn't that the same genocidal strategy used in Indian boarding schools? I come from El Maíz. The seeds that we were birthed from have been here long before border walls. Nowadays, we come for a trade that is the difference between life and death. The journey often lasts days and sometimes months. Children carry all they can in a school backpack. They come by themselves, with their parents, with a relative, or with somebody they met along the way. They make a miraculous trip. They cross entire countries. And when I see them in my office, it's like our meeting has been a long time coming. We talk about the journey and what happened to them in Guatemala, Mexico, Honduras, or El Salvador. But most of all, we connect. We connect over food. We connect over stories about our families. We connect over soccer. We connect over longing. We connect over what makes a home and finding that home. I represent these kids in court. My young clients and I make a team. And with the odds stacked against us, every meeting is a preparation for a legal battle. I come from El Maíz. The seeds that we were birthed from have been here long before border walls. We must make the connections between history and today. The same powers used to decimate my ancestors are used against my clients. May we gathered here today take a stand with ripple effects beyond this rally. Porque esta es nuestra tierra, este es nuestro hogar. That's right. Although the over 2,000 children that have been separated from their families bring us here today, I ask that we not forget them tomorrow. When ICE comes for our neighbors, when ICE comes for their fathers or their mothers that have been here for decades, or their DACA brothers and sisters. Because we all come from El Maíz. The seeds that we were birthed from have been here long before border walls. As I said, my name is Ana Moraga, and I am an attorney for KIND. KIND is a national organization. I work for the San Francisco office. We are members of the San Francisco Immigrant Legal Defense Collaborative. KIND represents immigrants in court. We work on the policy for due process and fundamental fairness, and we also make sure that no child is forced to migrate. KIND is sending a group of experienced attorneys next week to the border, and we're so excited. Because we know that this last executive order is no solution. So we are so grateful for your support. We ask that you donate to KIND and other wonderful organizations. Please continue, help us to continue the fight, and we count on you. Thank you so much.
Right now we're going to bring up Vilma Ortiz from the Women's Building, San Francisco. And as you guys know, the Women's Building is a historic institution in our city. So come on, let's give it up. All right, welcome. Good morning, San Francisco. Bienvenidos. Soy del edificio de las mujeres, Women's Building, San Francisco, who's right here. So where are the women? Where are the girls here today? Let me see your beautiful faces. Yes. We are a sanctuary building in a sanctuary city, in a sanctuary state, and we're going to keep it that way. We are in shock and in horror around zero tolerance, and it's not just these zero tolerance policies. It is also changes to asylum when it comes to domestic violence. It is ending temporary protected status. It is turning over fingerprint information to people who are seeking to shelter refugees. There is a list of things that this Trump administration is doing, and we are here to resist. So how do we do it? I got a couple things, because there's a lot of speakers and I'm going to get off really quick. But first, everyone here is an ally. So take a look at them. Hello, are you an immigrant? What brings you here? How can we continue to organize? Women, we must continue to organize. Don't agonize, organize. There are so many issues, not just for immigration, but the fight for 15, to get women to be found in different branches of government. It's all part and parcel, and we can only do it if we get it together. So in addition to meeting folks here, I want you all to go visit the Women's Building. We firmly believe there's only two types of people in this world: women and their children. So in addition to being here today, I want to invite you all to the national protest that's happening next Saturday. It's going to happen in DC as well, and we want to get every city, state in the country to register your protest to these racist, xenophobic, and harmful practices. So come join us. We're going to gather next Saturday at Dolores Park, and a bunch of us will meet at the Women's Building, and then we'll rally at Dolores Park, and from there we're marching to Civic Center. So you are all invited. Todos estás bienvenidos.
Miss Bonita Jane from the Immigrant Family Defense Fund. And don't worry, we only have 2 more speakers, so hang in. I know it's hot, I know we're getting tan and burned, but 2 more speakers, and it's important.
I'm going to try to shorten this. So I'm with the Immigrant Family Defense Fund. We're a group of local parents and teachers that are supporting immigrant families that are in crisis, primarily by raising money to get people out of immigration jail, raising bond money. As you guys have heard, this country has been splitting up families from the beginning, right? Snatching Native people's children, enslaving black families. So it should not surprise us for 1 minute, not for 1 minute, that we're also jailing immigrants. 39,000 immigrants spend the night in jail every year. That's 360,000 immigrants in jail every single year because they're fleeing violence or they're lawful permanent residents and have one of any range of convictions. We're erasing black and brown families. Are we going to let that happen? So I want to share a couple of stories with you of some of our families. Jose, he has been living in California for 25 years. Last year, ICE showed up at his home, arrested him in front of his family. His 5th grade daughter went to school in tears, literally pulling her hair out. Her principal activated the family network, and we were able to bond him out that day, but that is unusual. That rarely happens. Rosanio, he was arrested as he was crossing the border with his 13-year-old daughter. His daughter was sent to live with an uncle here in the Bay Area. He was sent to Florida. He spent months and months in Florida until finally an immigration judge allowed him to be released if he could post $7,500. How many people do you know have $7,500? And there are many, many more people who are detained in immigration jail. The stories are endless. So what can we do about it? You've heard a lot of ideas. One thing I want to leave you with is whatever we do, however we engage, let's choose to call this what it is. It's not immigration detention. This is jail. This is incarceration. Detention is what I got in high school when I was late for class. Right? We're caging people in full-on scrubs and slippers, hot or ice-cold cages, behind bars, bright lights, away from their family, their lawyers, and their communities. These are jails. And last thing I'm going to say is let's keep our eyes on the prize, right? People don't belong in cages. Children don't belong in cages. People don't belong in cages. So if we want zero tolerance, let's have zero tolerance for racist deportation policies. Let's have zero tolerance for baby jails and all immigrant jails. Zero tolerance for Border Patrol snatching kids at the border. Zero tolerance for ICE going through our neighborhoods, going to our homes, in our streets, in our jails, in our courthouses. Zero tolerance for money bail, mass incarceration, deportation, immigration jails, mandatory minimums, all of that. If we're not working towards all of that, we're not going to win.
Right now we want to welcome up Jacqueline Garcelle from the Latino Community Foundation.
I know you've all been standing here for a really long time and heard a lot of people talk, but let me tell you, I want you to close your eyes for just 1 second. You're here today because you heard the cries of kids that are right now detained. Close your eyes for 1 second. See that little girl, that 6-month-old baby that's been taken away from their parent. I want you to see it. Let it fall deep inside your heart so we don't forget it. It is hot out here. You've been out for an hour and a half listening to people talk, but it is a liberty to be out here right now holding up your signs. There is a freedom that we are enjoying right now because someone else fought for us to have these rights. And right now we are standing in the heat of the sun because those kids have been separated from their parents because those parents have been spending 1, 2, 3 years without seeing the sunlight because they have been taken away from their families. I
not a one-day protest. This is a marathon. And let me tell you something. What really matters is that on November 6th, you show up. You show up. You vote. You vote. You vote. It is not okay that 7 out of 10 voters stay home on June for the primaries. It is not okay that we are growing late, that we are tired, that our kids are hungry. We have to show up to vote because our votes have consequences. People, we know this. So vote. And not just you. I brought my family here up with me because it takes an entire family. So all your tias and tios and primas and primos, tell them to show up to vote. Vote. Vote, people, vote. Are you going to vote? Or are you going to tell everybody in your family to vote? Our votes have consequences. And now I want to end with a quick prayer for our kids. Lord, forgive us for growing weary of doing good. Forgive us for turning a blind eye. Forgive us for staying home when it mattered for us to get up. Forgive us for the times that we've looked the other way, but we're here now. We stand with a restless heart. We stand with you because we know you love justice and you love mercy and you love families. So we stand with you and we will fight to the very end because this country was founded on principles of unity and love and justice, and we will not end until this democracy is fully born.
Right now we want to welcome up Susan Solomon. She's representing our teachers here in San Francisco. Hello, I am Susan Solomon, Executive Vice President of United Educators of San Francisco, and I am here speaking on behalf of the 6,200 educators who work with the 56,000 students of San Francisco. It is our job to educate and protect our students. And we will do everything we can to help the students we know who are at the children at the border and in our schools. Students and children belong in school, not jail. And we are with them today and every day. Thank you. All right, finally, we have our closing speaker. She is a legend. She is known nationally. She is the former director of the Chicana Latina Foundation. I want everyone to give it up.
The thing you like best about that is I'm the last speaker, right? It's so good to see all of you here, and I've been seeing so many of you throughout the women's marches, throughout the immigration marches, and let me just tell you, I am not tired of seeing you. I'm going to continue to see you. Every single day that we need to be together, every single day that we need to act individually, we need to be together. And I love to be here with all of ourselves today, and as Pride Stars, I'm here in my queerness, I'm here in my immigration status, I'm here in my Mexicanness. Those little wins, they cannot take away from us. And I stand here with you, just in sharing the utter pain and anguish, and yes, and we anguish to see those kids being ripped apart from their families. So, yes, we have that order that says now they can be with their families still in prison. Are we going to stand for that? So our goals have to be, well, our end goals, you know what they are. We have to vote in November. We have to vote in 2020. We have to change. We have to change the landscape, with the political landscape of this country. We have been fighting for a long time. We have to break it down. There are many, many things that we need to do. We need to march on June 30th again. We need to go to the detention center on Tuesday. You will get more information about that. Jacqueline just said yes, there are plans
Belleville, Pleasant Hill, Woodland. I've already been mapping those places out. We can drive there. We can drive there, and we can set up vigils, because we must be the vigilant ones that find out where are those children and where are they taking them. And if they take them in the middle of the night to some bus, out to some foster care or some other facility, we need to be there. We know there are organizations that are already setting up DNA testing so that we can make sure that the children are reunited with the parents. We need to be the social DNA. We need to follow them wherever they take them. Wherever they take them. We have to be there. I stand here in front of you as someone that was saved by many, many, many individual actions. I was a political prisoner in Argentina for 16 months, and many of you here were part of the campaign to get me out. And many of you were in rallies, many of you wrote letters, many of you did sit-ins, and I know that those actions can work. The other thing that happened in Argentina, they took the kids away from the political activists. They kidnapped them and gave them to military families so they would be raised the right way, so they would be raised with their values. 40 years later, the grandmothers are still looking for those children. We have to learn from their resistance, their persistence in their love, and not let that happen to our kids. We have to know where they are. So I say right now, our motto has to be reunite the kids with the families. And I know we have the legal community working for that. We have many more things to do ahead of us, which is to stop the detention of the families crossing the border. Like Larissa says, permanent residency, legal residency for all of our families now. So, as someone who has recently retired from working, I was the executive director of Chicana Latina Foundation. Where are my Chicana Latina Foundation comadres? Where's everybody here? Yay! So, as a recently retired person, people say, oh, you're going to have a lot of R&R. And I said, yeah, I'm going to have resist and rebuild as my motto. Resist and rebuild. And my one today, and one I'm going to stay with until we do this, resist and reunite. 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 Thank you, brothers and sisters. Hermanas, hermanas. Viva la raza, viva la causa.
Everybody, thank you so much for being out here today. We are so in awe of everyone who has come together, for volunteers, from all of our peace ambassadors, for all of the community organizations that came out today. But this is just the beginning. We will be doing a rally and march next week from Mission Dolores to City Hall. And if you want to get involved, if you don't want to get numb, we're putting together a way with all the links from the organizations that you heard and others. And what we're going, it will be on Facebook. It will be Families United Together in San Francisco. We will also post it on the Facebook page here. Get involved, donate, don't get numb, and keep coming out to the streets until this ends.
And one final thing. Shake the hand of the person on your left. And shake the hand of the person on your right. We are brothers and sisters in this fight. It is important to get to know each other, to encourage one another, to love one another, because we need to keep going. We need to not stop. We need to fight the injustices in our city and in our nation. So thank you so much for coming out here today. My name is Monica Chinchilla. Thank you, Women's March, everyone, Latino Community Foundation. And let's get it! Come on! Feel free to stay and dance.
Yes.